So where's the office, back at division?
In the office, baby.
Ladies and gentlemen, can I please have your attention? What time is it? I've just been handed an urgent and horrifying news story.
Now Myers to win the league, yes!
And I need all of you to stop what you're doing and listen.
Well, hello and welcome to the Below the Rim show, a show dedicated to the BBL. It's me, Pabz. We will be joined by my main man, Ads. He is... what's he doing tonight? He's got... I think it's his under-14s Mystic team he's coaching, so he's on his way home from that. He'll join us shortly. Joining me until then, two legends. They've become legends of Below the Rim.
Where are they?
I think so. Don't take long, to be honest, with Below the Rim. The super sub, Mr. Paul Nicholson. How you doing?
Us guy.
I'm good, mate. To be honest with you, I thought you've replaced Josh and Ads with like the younger versions coming in. Like, you know, it's like the boys are, you know, maybe, you know, getting on a bit and all that, and you know, before you bring in the young studs,
let you run with it.
You said that.
And that voice you hear up there is our northern correspondent, Mr. Grant Young from the Rocks On podcast. How are you, sir?
Yeah, how are you doing, guys? Thanks for having me back on. Good
Pleasure.
to be called young and a good replacement, so thanks.
You just needed a bit of a pickup as the Rocks game's going on right now, so I thought I'd help you out.
That's harsh.
Cheers, Paul.
Well, the Rocks...
That really good 5 minutes we just spoke about.
I'm quite happy that not happy, because I like an upset, and I would like to have seen Rocks Lions in the final, because I think that's actually a pretty good matchup, and they've played each other well. But it's going to be... So we know the Lions are in. We'll talk about their road to it in just a second, but it looks like, or it's looked like almost before the game started, that the Rocks have bowed down, shall we say, and Leicester Riders will be progressing to the final. Let's start with the Lions. So we're going to this show. We're going to talk about playoffs. We've got another show coming up this week, which look out for. It'll be out either tomorrow, as I say this. It's Tuesday, so it won't be Tuesday. It'll be out possibly about Wednesday, where we're going to have the guys from Moss Side Tropics on and talk about the forthcoming documentary and just everything Moss Side Tropics, players that have come through there, the things they've done in the community, everything about the documentary that they can tell us, I guess, because obviously we don't want to give too much away. Where you can find it, hopefully, as well, they'll know that, because it looks incredible. But, yeah, look out for that. That'll be popping up on our feed, no doubt, this week. Let's just say this week. Because, obviously, now we're going to talk playoffs. We're coming down to the very business end of the season. London Lions already there. Leicester Riders about to join them. Lions, what a road it's been for the London Lions.
Where do you start?
A team at the beginning of the season, as always, it's got the finances. It brought in the players for the Europe Cup. Well, it brought players in for BCL, had a really good crack at that. And then the Europe Cup, FIBA Europe Cup, had a crack at that as well, and didn't disgrace themselves by any stretch of the imagination. Got some wins under their belts and did very well. Didn't seem to make it translate domestically. No trophies, no silverware for them this season. Playoffs is the last chance saloon for them to sort of salvage something from what European-wise has been a pretty decent turnout, like fairly successful, I would say, when you think about British teams in Europe in the past and how difficult it is to play against these teams with multi-million-pound rosters and whatnot. But domestically, it just hasn't happened. I for one, I wasn't sure they'd get past the Phoenix, because Cheshire is another team that's played the Lions very well. Obviously took the trophy off them earlier in the season. Lions are in a bit of turmoil there in terms of coaches, but took good care, shall we say. Made a good deal of it against the Flyers. Really ran away with it in that second game. But where do you guys stand on the Lions this season? And looking at what they've done, and if you want, looking forward as well. But obviously, we'll get to that. Mr. Nicholson, sir.
I'm gonna I agree with you. They should have done more with what they've got. But just to put it in perspective, they finished third. Okay, they had a good run in Europe and made history. They're in the playoff finals. Isaiah Reese leads the league in scoring. There's not many franchises where you can't turn around and say that's a good season. Well, no, sorry, that's not a good season.
Yeah. I get what you mean.
Yeah. But I do put it into perspective that they should have done better because they had the finances and everything else. And I'm trying to keep my opinion to what's based on the court. And coach changes, players vanishing and then coming back, things like that was just weird. And, you know, you can disagree with what happened there and why it happened and so forth. But regarding their results and purely their results, third place in the league, the last 5 games, they lost 2 out of 5. And the 2 teams they lost to were the 2 teams that finished above them. Like, they've done what they needed to get the playoffs. And I don't know if it's because of the owners. Obviously, the new American owners have the mentality of playoffs is the number one thing. You know, get to the playoffs, get to the finals, win it, you're champions. I don't know if that's anything to do with it or not. I don't know if it's just because they've tried to throw in too much too soon. Who knows? But they should have done better with what they've got. But actually, a lot of teams would probably be jealous of where they are.
I think it's just a team that you see them at the start of the season, like from obviously just seeing them against us. Like they absolutely blew us out the floor. Their first game is again up at Glasgow, like wiped the floor. But then Rocks ended up with a head-to-head against them. Like, it was such a topsy-turvy season. You look at guys that they like, obviously they had Teague in for the European campaigns. They had the Lithuanian guy in. So their European squad was always better than their league squad. They have had injuries, I suppose, latterly. Williams, Neighbour, Ward Hibbert, guys who have been decent. But, like, when did they ever have a settled starting 5? Like, Reece is probably top 3 player in the league. But they never had a full team around him. And at times he looked disinterested. But I think they're the best team to put up a fight against Leicester in the final. And then you've got young guys like Kaboza coming on who looks... It's great to see young players like him getting a chance at a team with all that like money behind them. Like on floor, they should be better than they are. But it's just not always ticked at different times of the season for different reasons. I always thought Williams would have been how good he was at Worcester. I thought he was going to absolutely... be like almost one of their leaders.
Oh, yeah, same here.
And looking at here, actually only
he started off
he's
well.
hardly played.
He was so.
I know he's had injuries.
He had injury. Yeah, he started well. He looked like he played the European competition pretty well as well. And like you say, he looked like he was going to be the linchpin. He often is. Any team he's on, the offense goes through him. He's a great distributor of the ball, and obviously he can get to the basket and score. He's like an undersized power forward, really. When you look at Europe, particularly, obviously not in the BBL so much because. He's a big dude, but yeah, it's a weird one. I like what Mr. Nicholson said. I liked your kind of. It is American ownership, and perhaps playoffs for them is the be and end all. I mean, it is for myself, and I know it is for Io as well. We always look at the play. Yeah, you always look at the playoffs and think, well, that's last man standing. It's all very well winning the league, but if you don't add the playoffs to that, it's almost what's the point?
Yeah, no, for sure. You got you want to make the playoffs. You want to make the playoffs. You know, otherwise you might as well halfway through the season go, right, well, let's shut up shop for like half the teams in the league. You know, you want to make the playoffs. You've got to have that competition. And then when you're in the playoffs, anything happens. You know, anything happens. But you're saying about people with injury. I'm looking at their squad list now, right? So listed here on the BBL website is 15 players, okay, who played or play for London. That's not including all of the Barking Abbey guys which registered and everything else. Right, so obviously Jordan Spencer only played 4 games. Yeah, that was a strange one. Lockhart's actually played 11 games. The biggest miss, I think, to them is Ward Hibbert, who only played 4 games because of injury. Robinson actually played 20 games, limited minutes. Jordan Williams has actually played 17 games. So, yes, he's been injured, but he's played 17. He's only averaged 5 points a game.
He had limited minutes in those. How many minutes is he averaging?
You can make me click another
Just under
button now.
20. Just under 20.
So that's not a lot of minutes, really. For someone like him, you expect 30.
But you're still expecting double digits.
Yeah.
Well, yeah,
You're still
I guess,
expecting efficiency from them.
Mm.
You know, Tawiah, 24 games. Washburn, 21. Kelly, 27. Kajini, 27. Martin, 18 games. Kaboza, 14. You know, he was a bit of an unknown, but he's done really, really well, Kaboza.
Mm.
Will Neighbour, 17 games.
Yeah, he's been quite quiet as well, hasn't he?
But what stands out is obviously Will, Williams, Tawiah, you know, and then Kelly.
Mm.
That's 4 predominant 5/ obviously Will's a 4. That's a tough rotation for that many numbers, and that's what people thought at the beginning. And then you bring Ryan Martin into the mix, who's another big body,
taking more minutes as well. Yeah,
that's 5 guys to rotate around, because obviously the BBL you can play 4s on 5s and so forth. But that's really difficult to rotate that size of quality player as well.
Do you think the switching and changing of coaches is? I mean, it's losing Vince obviously was a bigger deal, I think, than some of us realise. You know, the outpouring of messages and what he kind of brought to the team. Him coming on the show and talking openly about it as well. It was like, you know, he was moved by the reaction, and they really kind of it turned into a period of time where actually there is a world where they don't make the playoffs. They were kind of hanging around 6th and 7th, and they were struggling to pick up wins. And it was like, well, they could finish 9th. They're like, obviously, it's highly unlikely, but that end of the table looked like a possibility for them to get the turnaround. And obviously, the new coach who has always kind of been there to a degree, hasn't he? I think he was there as an unofficial capacity, and now he has the accreditation he needed. It seems to have turned things around. What did you make of all the coaching, chopping and change? Let's go with Grant first.
And I'm trying to think back. The only team in recent history that's probably chopped and changed coaches is Glasgow. Obviously had Tony Garbaletto and then brought in...
it was weird, wasn't it? He just went.
Darryl Wood, and then Darryl Wood left halfway through for Vincent Lavande. Both of those occasions actually probably caused an upturn in results just because of situations. So it is different, I suppose. But this for London, it just seemed to kind of destroy any momentum. Like Vince kind of, for what maybe lacks in coaching, maybe brings together in chemistry. And then when you look at... name escapes me, the middle guy, Veers.
Coach Veer.
He seemed to maybe, again, towards the end, lose a few of the players, and you saw that maybe Washburn, and then it seems to all kind of come together at the right time for the playoffs.
Washburn left. Is in all of their social media that he'd gone, then he's back.
Well, it wasn't on their social media that he's gone.
Oh, was it not? Oh, okay.
No, that's the thing. Washburn just went.
It was on social media,
and then it was like, "Hey, peekaboo, I'm back again."
Was that was that around the same time that Coach Veer? It was. So
yeah.
I mean, it speaks volumes, although nothing there is official, of course.
I don't know. That has to have an effect. Like, you know, Vince is Vince. He is a very influential person, coach, human being, personality, whatever you want to label him as right now. In the BBL and within London. And there's a lot of those guys that have worked very hard for that man. And there's a lot of things that he's done for them. So that not having an impact is impossible. It had to have an impact of him gone. You know, Veer was, you know, he's up and coming. He's a great coach. He really is. Some of the stuff he's done with the academy programs around. And
he's well revered,
Yeah. Well, revered. I like what you did there. But he got thrown into the fire. And the reality is any coach who comes in after a, say, transfer window or whatever you want to call it ends, that's not your team. That's not your team. You have to... You've got to make a choice, haven't you? You either adapt or... Yeah. You've got to get to know your guys. You've got to get to know the plays that they run. You've got to try and implement your own stuff. Like, even the guys who are there now, right? Loads of people going, oh, yeah, they're rubbish coaches. No, they're not. They're good. but it's a hell of a tough situation to be in.
What did you guys make of the second leg? So obviously, first leg, it kind of, because of the weird aggregate thing, it kind of went to form. Really, neither team wanted to slip up. Neither team wanted to let the other team get too much advantage. London did at one stage hold a decent advantage, and Flyers, to their credit, did what they've done all season long. They came back, closed the gap to 2 points, but that was their home game, so you almost expect that, and the Lions just sort of happy to tag along. But what did you guys make of the second leg? I have a take on it, but I'll get to it. But go on, Mr. Nicholson.
It was Lions at the best that they could be at that moment. I feel, and Bristol couldn't keep up with them. Like, the talent shown through the pick and roll. Why they stopped doing the pick and roll at some point blew my mind. Like, Reese and Kelly were just like having fun. You know, he was coming off screens. Kelly was just rolling to the basket. The help line was leaving Kelly and trying to help on Reese, and it was just throw it up, throw it up, throw it up.
There were some nice alley-oops, yeah.
Like, there was no defensive rotation on the Flyers side, so no one came along to like help out on that. It was either one-on-one with Reese and it's a bucket, or they double Reese on the drive and they threw out for Kelly. Like, there was no drop defense, and it killed him.
Yeah, similarly, but I was actually, when I was watching, I was like, "What this?" I was like, "Dirk Williams is back." Like, Dirk Williams, I thought was just incredible. Like, he's obviously been down, hurt, whatever, but honestly, like, I've just opened up his stats. He played 35 minutes, but he was 26 points, 5 rebounds, 3 assists,
6 of 11 from 3 as well.
They gave him the chance, but most of the looks were open. Like, they moved the ball really well. I felt like London actually looked like they moved the ball rather than play one-on-one basketball. And Reese just looked like he's well up for it. And I don't think Bristol got at Kelly at all. I always think if you challenge Kelly, he commits cheap fouls. He only had 2 fouls for the game, and allowing him to be on the court for as long as he is, London are going to win with him on the court. So.
Yeah, it didn't look like a well-scouted game from Bristol, if I'm honest with you. It really didn't.
Partly that's because London are so inconsistent, if you like, that it's difficult to scout what they're actually going to do next.
And I suppose they do have so many options. But
They do, but yeah, I said this about I'll probably say it again about the Glasgow-Leicester game first leg, but if you're going to scout something, if you're going to pick one thing to scout, and you can only scout one thing, it's the pick and roll with Reese and Kelly. If you don't scout that and defend that well, you're done.
There were plenty of scores from that. Yeah. Do you want my take? It's weird. The game was. I really enjoyed the game up to the third quarter, and start of the third quarter, Flyers are still in that game. It's not a huge mountain to climb. Obviously, losing the last quarter by 13 points is a hell of a third quarter by the Lions. But I felt more that the Flyers fell apart. Now, I know that a lot of that is down to good defense by the Lions, and a lot of that is the frustration that they could not stop them scoring. But I think that plays into it. I think they just they couldn't hit a shot. I mean, all the game, both teams struggled from shooting to a degree. I've not seen a free throw game. I've not seen people shoot from the foul line as badly as Bristol did in that game. It was 3 from 11. I mean, it's horrendous.
27%. Yeah,
it's crazy. You're not going to win games. You're not going to win close games if you shoot.
Bullshit's better than that.
But I've heard rumours. So my first take is that the Flyers, as much as the Lions took it and won it, the Flyers just kind of capitulated and just it almost ran out of steam, if you like. They were such a high tempo team up to that point. And my second take is that the Lions actually started to play like they did when they were under Vince, jacking up threes, regardless of whether they went in. Pretty much all of Isaiah Reese's shots, bar 2 in the fourth quarter, were threes and went in. Like, it was insane the way he shot the ball at the end there. And he finished 5 from 11. But they played that game and Vince would have been happy with that. I think they must have shot. I think they've shot 14 threes for the game, but there must have been 7 of them in the fourth quarter.
Well, Reece shot 11 threes. Dirk Williams shot 11 threes. And Washburn shot 6 threes.
So 37 threes put up.
Yeah.
Washburn's shooting is underrated as well. Absolutely underrated. Well, if that guy's open, he's knocking it down.
Yeah, I think Grant's got a little frown that I just give there. Well, we don't know what he's about because he went flipping missing.
Good defender. We know he's a good defender.
He's a good defender, but he disappeared in the BBL and then came back again. Yes, he was really good in Europe, and yes, we know he's a good player. Someone put on Twitter on your vote said he should be defensive player of the season. No,
well, he should have been in the vote for that. It was Dirk Williams we kind of frowned on more because his disappearance was a little bit more. I mean, he only averaged 16 points, just minimal stuff. Like I don't think Dirk has done enough for any kind of vote, especially Team of the Year on that this season. And I think
we know how talented he is. There's no doubt about it.
We saw it, didn't we? It kind of came right, didn't it? In the second leg against Bristol, it just clicked, and he looked really good. But Flyers gave him all the space in the world to be good. So
if they play like that offensively, I feel there's a weakness in Leicester currently in the playoff period. Not in the league. Forget the league. From what I've seen in the playoffs against Patriots and against Glasgow, there is a weakness there for someone to take advantage of because they are letting up buckets. You look at the first half of the Glasgow game. You look at the start of the Patriots game. You look at the third quarter and the second leg of the Patriots game. They do slip up and they will go a period. They will go a period without scoring or getting frustrated or something like that. But someone has to take advantage of it. And then they've got to ride with it. And that's the hardest bit. Patriots took advantage of it. Glasgow took advantage of it. But you just can't do it for a long period of time. London probably can.
I think London have the height. I think you could get at them inside. If you is their 5-man name's gone? Henry. Is Henry good enough against 2-3 guys coming at him for 40 minutes? Is Mo Walker good enough to stay on the floor?
Well, they average 20 minutes a game, don't they? They split it half and half, and they're both starters on most teams in the BBL. But you're right. If you can get one of those into foul trouble, then there's a different ball game.
Absolutely.
No one's done it though.
No. They defend. This is the other thing as well. When we came up with the vote for Defensive Player of the Year, we didn't specifically go with any Leicester Riders players individually. We've added a few subsequently because we're like, wow, I think they're the best defense-rated team in the league.
Yeah.
But it's a team defense, so they don't have a guy who gets 4 blocks a game and 6 steals a game. They don't necessarily have that. They really work well. That unit defensively works well, and they protect each other. Now, like you say, no team really has got Nelson Henry in significant foul trouble, and if they have, Mo Walker's been there to back up, and they haven't got him into significant foul trouble, and it's because they protect each other. They work incredibly well, and they've just got so many. They've just got so many players. They're deep. They are a deep team.
I'm shaking my head here, looking at with 30 seconds to go. Leicester are up 103-78. Rocks have just capitulated the final quarter.
Still scored 78. That's doom and gloom.
Take every small win.
A 3-minute trophy.
We'll be asking this question related to the Rocks to Grant at the end of the next phase. But before we move on to talk about Leicester and Glasgow and Leicester moving to the final, do you think, obviously Lions fans with the result will be happy, and obviously, I mean, having been there when London City Royals were in the playoff final, it was like a home game for the London City Royals. Leicester took care of business on the day, but it was insane. It's going to be like that. 2 Lions teams in the final. It's going to be heavily, in favour, almost like a partisan crowd, if you like. But do you think Bristol Flyers fans are happy with this season as a whole? Who wants to take that one?
Yeah, they've got to be.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't it be? It's the best finish
semi-final of the playoff.
Yeah.
So it's the highest finish they've achieved, fourth, and they've gone out. Bit of a whimper towards the end of the fourth quarter, but for essentially for 7 quarters, they've run it in there with the big guys.
Yeah, they've done Bristol things. They've been rough and tough, and when they've struggled is when people have been rough and tough back. Andreas runs his style of basketball, and it's very effective. Get some good guards and get some big, strong dudes and batter the hell out of people. And it's worked most of the time. And as they finished 4th. The league standard's a bit crazy, though, to be honest with you, because I think everybody from like second to
9th. Second to 8th.
10th.
Well, yeah, 9th, yeah.
Yeah, 2nd and 9th, sorry. Yeah, not 10th. Yeah, 2nd and 9th. We're probably at some point 2 games away from completely switching the table upside down.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
So, but they're there. They're 4th place, and lots of other teams would have wanted to be there. So they should be happy. It's what they do every season.
And I suppose they're one of the teams where to be that high up the table, maybe Sheffield or similar, that actually play quite a short rotation, especially on the road. Like looking at there, like they only had 9 guys playing minutes, but Samuel's only played 4, so you're talking like only really 8 guys getting meaningful minutes. When you look at other teams now going 10, 11, 12 deep in the league.
He's been a bit of a revelation as well, hasn't he? Samuel's, I think he's had a great impact on his defensive game is very good, and obviously you assume he'll be returning to that Flyers squad as one of their kind.
Well, he's a Bristol lad, isn't he?
Exactly, one of their homegrown guys, and he'll get better and better.
He will do, and I think Andreas has made a decision where he's gone short, like you said, Grant. He's got a short roster, so it probably means he can pay some of the other guys more. That's the reality of it. You've got a budget. You either go to deep roster, you have a deep roster, and you have a certain caliber of player all the way through. Unless you're London or whatever, right? Or you have a short roster, and you have some rotation guys, some local guys, because they had a couple of others. They've got Pasquale as well, who's local guy. They had a guy called Finley at the beginning of the season, local guy. Or you go short roster and pay your main guys a little bit more, and he's done that. And when the injuries hit, it was a problem for them, but when they were fit, they were good.
Absolutely. Let's move on. Let's go. Let's talk about the Riders then. So Riders, it's no surprise, a team that loses 2 league games, 3 games if you include the trophy, and I think maybe lost 1 of the cup games to the Lions. So it's essentially a team that lost 4 games all season long. We expect them to be in the finals. Did you guys expect? I mean, obviously, the Patriots. We talked about that on the last show. Patriots Riders could have gone either way. To be honest, it was a really good show. Both legs, Patriots really went for it. Second leg, just come up short to a team that ultimately is one of the best teams we've had in recent years. Well, not even recent years, like third best record all time, behind Kingston Kings and my 93 Worthing Bears, which were amazing. I thought we lost more games that season, if I'm honest, having been there. It was but we didn't. We only lost 2, I think, or 3. I think. But tonight, obviously, progressed through the Rocks as well, which I'll be honest, I thought would be a closer affair. We'll get your guys' opinion on it. And now, obviously, they're going to be there in the final against the Lions. It is essential. I know the Sharks kind of fell off in the playoffs and had injury issues, but it is kind of what we sort of thought, what everybody would have perhaps predicted at the beginning of the season. Lions Riders should be in the final, and they are. But the road there, Mr. Young, sir, what did you make of their playoff run?
I suppose it kind of summed up in how they dealt with Glasgow. They just know how to get the job done. They know what works for them, and they can run through teams. Plymouth, I always thought Plymouth were going to be the better team to kind of push them from matchups. They match up better than we do with them, to be honest. And yeah, you just have to look at the result over Glasgow 2 legs to see what they do to teams that either don't scout report properly or step off them. Whereas Plymouth went for them, I felt. I think Leicester, just where they're at, they're the best team in the league or in the championship this season, and Rob does Rob things with players. He makes them all, as you said, team defense, and he just knows how to get the best out of guys. Would Kyle McKenzie? Is it Kyle McKenzie? Kimball McKenzie. Would he? He's a great backup for
definitely
whatever guard he comes on for, and he's so efficient. Would he be as efficient on another team where maybe he needs to take more shots? Probably not.
No. Yeah,
it's that whole. You see how good Whelan's been this season. He's had an absolute breakout year, and if it wasn't for him, from a Rocks point of view, you'd probably say, Fraser Malcolm's maybe the most improved player in the league. But Whelan's been insane. Different ball fields compared to every other kind of Brit in that situation. Like, Rob's kind of made his team better as the season goes on. Paul said earlier about maybe teams can see a weakness, and you just don't know if teams can actually do that because of the way they play. Like, they actually play the ball quite fast. They play tough team defense, and they have the referees on side.
It does appear that way.
I didn't say that. Delete that.
No, I'm not. It does appear that way, especially when they're playing in Leicester. It's if it's a 50-50, it's Leicester's ball.
Yeah, the tweet I put out a week or so ago about not getting calls. That
was funny.
That went for me. That trended.
That's the one where I said I said again, ask me on Friday or something. I said no because we were playing them. And just
I got like 10,000 views on that tweet. It's pretty good for me.
But that's how it goes.
Tweet for the BBL.
That's how it goes, isn't it? If you're the number one team, you get superstar treatment. Essentially,
I think the beauty of the final will be it's one game.
Yeah,
right? It's one game. So you look at where Rocks were partway through the third of the first game.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
You look at where Patriots were in the second game. Like, they were one possession away from the winning basket, but something happened and we put the ball on the end line. I think there's a weakness, and I think the weaknesses comes from being so good that they've been, that when someone does get rough and tough with them, and when someone does get under their skin, they implode. Like, only for a short period, though. Only for a very short period. It's whether or not another team has the talent and the ability to take advantage of that and sustain it for the rest of the game. We've seen Gino explode. What a player he is. He's phenomenal. But we've seen the frustration of him come out, which is maybe that will to win the playoffs because he didn't do it last season.
Well, I was going to say, I think they want it more. I've not seen a team come into a game so kind of
and it will
aggressive.
Go 2 ways. It can go either heavily in their favour and they'll just be up for it and they'll just absolutely smack them, or there is that thing of just getting too high in a moment and someone taking advantage of it.
And I suppose in a one-off game, especially as you say, one-off game, if they do implode in a final, and a team like London, or if it's Reece for Kelly, Dirk Williams just goes for one, there might not be any coming back in a one-off game. Different rims, different atmosphere, probably a pro-London crowd.
Definitely, yeah.
You're probably going to see a situation where Leicester haven't actually been in. Okay, they'll have experience of being in those situations, some as individuals and most of them as a team. But London may just be able to, as you say, get at them, frustrate them, and there won't be that moment where they can switch back on because London can, as we said, the last few games have just shot threes.
Yeah, and how well London prep for Leicester is going to be important. How do they scout them? Do they really sit down and go through it? Do they go through the plays? Do they kind of? Does Rob change anything? It's going to be a lot of the preparation, which is decided in this final, and that's why sometimes you see low scoring finals because both teams will prep. Teams will make a little tweak to plays and things like that, and it takes them a while to figure each other out. And historically, finals haven't been great spectacles because of that.
That's true. There's a handful that have been close. I was trying to get the BBL to put one up. It was when Glasgow Rangers were in the BBL. I think it was the second season. It was like a 3-point game, and there's obviously, because of the way the BBL is historically, there's no box scores for it. There's a few. I think some of the scores, individual scores, are on Wikipedia, but there's no kind of play-by-play or anything. You can't see how thing. I was trying to get him to put it up because it's meant to be a classic. The '93 one was a classic with the block. Was it a block? Was it a foul? And then beyond that, I mean, there must be more that have been thrilling affairs. My first finals I went to at the O2, the Riders blew out the Royals, absolutely destroyed them. It was over by half time. It was crazy.
One of the ones from obviously the season the Rocks won the playoffs. Ted Berry had that shot in the buzzer, the semi-final against Sheffield. So the semi-final was much better than the final. That's
sometimes the way. That's the route there is sometimes more impressive, than the final itself. However, I don't know. It's going to be, because both teams have got some serious firepower. Like a 10-point lead is not going to be enough, I don't think, for either team in a situation when in the past maybe 10 points has been like a mountain to climb. But when you talk about scouting and if the Lions do a good enough job scouting the Riders, because we know Riders' team defence, it just works. It just has done all season. They'll obviously scout players and what to do, but they are such a well-oiled unit. We do look, and rightly so, I think we look at the Lions and see how they'll cater for. But for me, they can scout all they like. All right, if they get into a situation where they've got like 2 or 3 stops. What they need to look at, in my opinion, and this is just from what I've seen, and I'm clearly not an expert of any kind, when that happens, when the Riders get in a situation where there's been 2 or 3 offences where they've not scored, they literally give the ball to Gino and clear out. And if the Lions can read that, and when that is taking place, send bodies at him, because he's the X factor of the game. We know that. The way he played in the cup final was testament to that as well. He got pissed off by a no call and went off, just took the game over. And when the Riders struggle on offense, they give him the ball and get out of the way. If they can counterbalance that somehow, slow him down in that respect, then who knows?
Which will be difficult to do because
he's
now, his 3-point shot has got a lot better this season as well. So you can't just stand off him and say, "Hey, we'll take you up on that option." He scores the ball really well. He's yes, I've seen him implode at times, but I've also seen him be motivated by that stuff. When he really wants to turn up the heat, he can, and he proved that against Glasgow in the first game.
Hey, it's done all the last 2 seasons.
He just took over, and he is that good. He can do that.
I will say as well, the difference between this Lions squad and potentially any other squad the Riders have faced is that they've got plenty of bodies they can chuck at Gino and get physical with him and not have to worry too much about foul trouble. They can chuck, I mean, they won't want to, but they can chuck Isaiah Reese at him, pick up a foul, move him out of the way. They can chuck Kajini at him, pick up a foul. Washburn, they can probably stick Washburn on him, for long periods and really try and slow him down. But there's a lot of bodies in there. Lockhart even, we've not seen much of Lockhart, but he's a defensively sound player. Chuck him at him for
Lockhart was one
minutes.
That I thought of. I think it'll be interesting to see how much of Isaiah versus Gino we get.
Hardly any, I imagine.
It'll be Washburn on Gino.
I mean, Ward Hibbert is capable of playing the guard spot. He's a big guy. Chuck him at Gino. That's a physical matchup. So
that's fine. But I think it's about what he gets met by at the rim. Is he going to be met by? One time he's met by Tauia, the next time he's met by Kelly. Like, he's going to be forced to change his shot at the rim, and he's very good at doing that. But you've got a mix, and we've talked about it could have been an Achilles heel for London having so many 4-5s in rotation. This is some time where it actually could be a plus side because you can rotate Will and you can.
Well, I didn't even mention Caboza. Caboza, you can chuck at him, chuck at Gino. He's fast. He's feisty. He wants it.
Yeah, the young guys love that, don't they? They love that. Like, let's step up against the.
It was kind of like Samuels this season, isn't it? Samuels has done that.
Chop at his ankles for a while, and the young boys love that stuff.
That's what Connor Washington did, wasn't it? Like when he was a lot younger, when he first came in the league, he always ended up in Ramon or someone at big moments.
We've not mentioned Connor Washington. Connor Washington's a guy, obviously, who's been here before plenty of times, particularly with Riders and coming off the bench. And I know people say, "Oh, coming off the bench doesn't really mean anything now." But when you've played 7 minutes, suddenly Gino's going off and Connor Washington's coming on, it's like, oh Christ.
He saved the day for Riders against us.
Multiple times.
Right.
In the regular season as well. He was phenomenal.
Yeah. But I think
he's got the highest arcing shot I think I've ever seen in the BBL.
I think we could have caused an upset in the first round of the playoffs if it wasn't for Connor. I generally do, because when they rotated Connor in, it was just, my God, we've just put a whole shift in trying to stop Gino, and now they chuck this guy in. Like, it's tough. That's hard to defend against.
Not to mention Kimball McKenzie. Like you say, he's very efficient because he doesn't necessarily have to shoot. That's a hell of a backcourt.
Yeah.
Washington scored 20 tonight.
Yeah.
Hey, look, the reality
in 18 minutes.
Leicester have got to make some mistakes, and London have got to play really well if you want London to win.
Do you think it's as easy as that? Do you think coming off the back of obviously what the Lions have done to get there as well with the big gate, with the big fourth quarter? Yeah, but they're rolling into this game.
At one breath, I'm saying I think there's weaknesses, but what I'm saying is if Riders play their best, they're winning it. I think they're a better team than London. So they've got to make mistakes, and London have got to capitalise.
How much do you think the home crowd will have an effect? Because obviously back in when it was London City Royals, it had no effect whatsoever. The Riders just took care of business.
No, I don't think it's make any difference. Yeah, I know it's in London, but people are coming from far and wide. They've been advertising the playoff final since the beginning of the season. You got people from Plymouth going, you got people from Worcester, from Bristol, from Manchester, from there and everywhere going.
Got people from below the rim going.
Dun dun dun.
Yay! I'll talk a bit about.
That's what I mean.
Like,
well. It's not as such a home court as you, just because it's being played in London. I don't. There's no home court advantage.
I think there will. I think it will be very loud when they announce London Lions. There'll be a lot bigger cheer than Leicester Riders. Well,
mind you, if you're 777, you'd recruit a few boys to come down. You'd be like, come on,
be out in the street handing out tickets.
I own about 2,000 businesses, right? Get yourself down to the O2.
Has anyone heard? Is this going to be, because obviously the cup and the trophy with the highest attendance figures? I don't know if that's ever or in recent years. I'm not sure actually if that'll be the case. I'm confident the O2 is pretty much sold out every year, if not.
I think there's still tickets available. Not many. I know some of our boys from the season have gone up. Some of the players are going to be going up, I believe.
Oh, really? Nice. We'll try and get them on the broadcast. Well, I might as well say it now. Myself, Ads and IO have got our passes. We're going to be there. Hopefully, I'm not sure if Josh is coming. Hopefully he is, but I know he's got a lot of stuff going on with BCL and Euro Cup. And
take Grant with you. He needs a day out. Look.
So
get me a flight. I'll be there.
After that game today, you need to get him out there.
But we're basically.
I'll get my London Lions top on.
We're basically gonna set up audio specifically. We're gonna go for the kind of 5 Live feel and sort of hopefully we'll all get there by 12. We'll probably go live for half an hour. We'll get all the links out there, obviously, so you can listen along, send in messages or whatnot. We're also going to try and grab. So let me know which Patriots players are going, because we're going to try and grab 1 or 2 players just to come and have a little chat with us and whatnot while we're up there. I think Ads wants to get some interviews with some of the players before and after, and I think Aya wants to head into some of the press conferences. So
God,
we'll hopefully bring you some content all day long. And
I'm just excited for it to be like a full Sky Sports press conference with Io going, talk your shit. Rob sat there going, so what?
But yeah, that's the game plan. Obviously, it all might fall apart if certain other members of the BBL media have nicked all the bandwidth of O2 for various different things. But should we get enough internet, we will be doing that. We'll be on there all day. So
Should be fine.
Should be a laugh. It should be good. But my initial thought was, if anybody listened to 5 Live when the cricket's on, and you've got Aggers, I think it used to be Boycott and whatnot, just sat with the test match on, and they don't talk about the test match at all. People send them in cards, cakes, all sorts of weird stuff, and they spend more time talking about that. They also spend a huge chunk of time looking around the crowd and trying to pick out who's drunk, who's not, like who's doing what. So we may have a bit of that going on. You never know. Just a bit of fun, hopefully. But yeah,
I think
that's
there
the
should
general
be a competition of like who can spot kind of the biggest personality in the crowd.
Is LVC Dusha going? That'd be the choice for me.
Oh, jeez. Who knows? Probably. You'll find a way in.
Yeah. But that's the idea. That is the game plan. But
love that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'd ask for specific predictions from you guys, and I think I'm going to. I was just looking at the Riders roster. Who do you think? Obviously, other than Gino, who's going to make the biggest impact for the Riders on the final day?
Loving.
Do you think so? Nice. Both said that at the same time. See, I was thinking Patrick Whelan, perhaps. And then there's the unsung hero, of course, as well, Zach Jackson, who can suddenly pop up and knock down 20 points out of nowhere because they're concentrating so much on Whelan and Crandall that he just finds himself in pretty good space, and he's a good defender as well.
Lovin's a tough matchup. Absolutely tough matchup. And like I said, you're going to prioritise your scouting report on various people. Not that they won't look at him. They obviously will because he's such a talent. But he's hard to guard if you're a guard. And he's hard to guard if you're a big. Because he's too quick for the bigs. And he's too big for the guards.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you've ever watched him play. He's completely emotionless.
Oh, God, yeah. Right? He gets down to business, yeah.
Scary emotionless. Like, you see him make some incredible plays, and his face is like this. Just completely straight. Like, it's unreal. I'm like, anyone else can be so hyped, and he's just straight-faced, straight business. And I love that about him. I think he's a great player.
Yeah. I think he's just both one of these guys that you can put on either end of the floor, and he just does everything right. X and O's, basic guy, but ramps up the points, ramps up the rebounds, and you forget about him. He's one of these guys you look at in reflection and be like, when did he score those points? He may get 20 points, but it's only 5 points a quarter. It might be a 3 and a couple of free throws every quarter, and you're like, how is this guy going for 20? And now what? The league is... and he's going to help Leicester win the competition.
The big question now, of course, is Rocks fans, and we have one here, are you happy with this season?
Yeah, 100%. I think if you were to take it as a season hold, three semi-finals, making the playoffs, considering on the back of last season, it's a massive upturn. I think the season, like probably most teams, has been a right roller coaster. Started the cup campaign really well. Team looked good. Rocks obviously had Elijah Minnie at that point as well.
Yeah.
Who was one of these players that probably quite similar to Loving. He's a big guy, but also can guard the guards.
Yeah.
Rocks kind of never replaced him like to like. They went with Green, who was more of a shooter. They've then gone Vance Johnson, who until recent weeks I wasn't sure what he was able to really do efficiency-wise. He has turned into a really decent player, like role player for the Rocks the last couple of weeks, but before then I wasn't sure. But I think getting to 3 semi-finals, finishing where they finished in the league with the record, considering you lost Ali Fraser at such a crucial part of the running.
Yeah, big loss as well, that is, isn't it?
Big miss, and then the Rocks changed how they're going to play. You've lost who was your time, one of your top 3 scorers. Gaddis then worked out that he had to play more to make the team as good as they have been.
I'm sure we talked about that the last time we were on the pod together, Grant.
Yeah.
Positive we talked about that.
The conspiracy about how they threw the trophy, the trophy final.
But I honestly think you can't look at it in any other way other than positive for Gareth. Second year as a coach, a better season, like more consistent in terms of he didn't start the season with guys just with their own ball doing layup lines all day.
I've got a question which has gone under the radar for Rocks, and you might be able to answer us. Obviously, Gareth re-signed player coach. Yeah.
Well, I was unclear. I didn't know.
Sorry, question mark on the player bit. That's
you didn't know if he was going to play or coach. Yeah,
but
he's not decided if he's going to play.
You've also got this new guy from the States on the bench. Lovely guy. Met him at Pavilions. Really sound guy. Worked with an NBA team in media.
Pacers.
Yeah, worked with the Pacers in media, I believe.
No way.
And now he's on the sidelines coaching. So I'm just curious of what's his role? Is he around for is he here as a stopgap, or is he here to stay? Or because I
can't remember if I said it was. I can't remember if it was on this or my own podcast. But so who he is, he's like a Gareth's pal from a long time ago. Moved to the States, been involved in different levels of kind of NBA stuff. It just seems as if Gareth, he's there training, and I think that's where the changes come, where maybe Alan Keane's not been able to go to training or every game this guy has, so they've maybe swapped roles in terms of who's doing what. You still see it on the sideline, like Alan doing a lot of talking to the players in terms of maybe feedback one-to-one kind of stuff. But this guy just seems to be the one he's at all the training, he's taking a few kind of camps for stuff, so he's obviously trusted by Gareth to kind of do that. Gareth still looks like he's taking more of the timeouts. So it'll be interesting to see what it means for next season. I'm not sure. I've not heard in terms of that way, but yeah, interesting. And it'll be interesting to see how Gareth recruits for next season. Another year of knowing what's happening. I reckon you'll actually have more players in the market this season, because obviously a lot of guys got another year of NCAA eligibility. A lot of guys got an extra year, so they might have stuck around. Because I know the Rocks struggled to find that kind of person after Green went down,
right,
who they were exactly looking for. And that's kind of the reason the Rocks have told me. It was like a lot of guys that would maybe be interested would be that. Guys like Jordan Johnson, I don't think will hang around. He played Europe, played good level, I think it was Euro Cup he played or whatever it was.
He's very
But why wouldn't he hang around?
I think he... Good question. It's just
this is always the thing in British basketball. It's like, this guy's really good, he won't hang around. Why not? If he likes it,
it's always been a stepping
I know there's been so many guys in the past who have, like Ramon, Rob Yanders. Every team's had a guy that hangs around. I know from early on in the campaign, Gareth was talking to him about like, well, what are you thinking? Will you stay? Will you not? And I'm of that opinion that if he was going to stay, we would have maybe already heard that.
Possibly.
Yeah,
because
maybe.
in the past, Rocks have announced signings this early.
They have, that's true. Yeah, they've announced.
Normally contract talks happen around now.
Yeah.
Last week and this week is normally like the kind of contract.
Yeah, true, because obviously after the playoffs,
existing.
a lot of contracts end of April if you've got playoffs end of May. But I just thought, I don't think he stays purely because I think he thinks he's better. He's maybe got another chance of in Europe and maybe more money. I think he's come here because of COVID and the slightly close to home, the language, that kind of stuff. Because he sat out the year of COVID. So I think he's used this year as a stepping stone back into Europe.
It's often the way. I think Justin Gordon did the same thing at Newcastle. I spoke to him after the game. He's no intention of coming back to the BBL. He wants to. I mean, he's 28. I think 28, 29. So he wants to make as much money as he possibly can before he retires, and that's fair. Players are in that situation where they want to be professional for as long as they can and put something aside. Hopefully, that's the way the BBL's going though. Soon, yeah.
I'd be more inclined, I think, from a Rocks point of view, if they could get hold on to someone like a Jordan Harris. I think he's been phenomenal, and I don't think he started. You could tell being that kind of rookie, he struggled early on. And games that he tended to score less than 10, Rock struggled in. See now he's.
Do you think Rocks need to hold on to like 3 or 4 guys, because they've obviously built this chemistry, which is people wrote them off. Like we all wrote them off. I think all three of us probably at some point did. You know,
Ads was the only one who didn't.
but they've got that chemistry.
Ads wrote off the Flyers and they finished fourth.
If you could keep four of them, like you got something to build around there.
So you got to say Rocks will keep obviously Gareth. Like chances are, Ali Fraser will probably stay. Fraser Malcolm. So your kind of Scottish core.
I like
Does
Fraser
Boban
Malcolm.
Jacomi stay? I think that's a big question mark. Probably had that second season syndrome kind of thing, in and out, injuries. But when he's been good, he's been really good.
I like him. Yeah.
I don't think he's been consistent enough to go right. I've got a God-given right to go to a bigger, better team of loads of money and put demands in. I think
agree.
You know, and actually, it looks like he's enjoying it there, and he's probably out to prove a point. You know, he's played really well there. I think he'll be a great one.
He's one of these guys that's an absolute great guy to speak to. Seems to really have enjoyed his time in Glasgow. So I think he'll be one that will still look around but hope that there's still a chance. Depends if Gareth might have someone else in mind. There might already be someone else. I'm not sure if... any team try and take Jordan Harris. John Johnson, I think, will probably look to move on. If we can hold on to him, brilliant. Vance Johnson will go. For me, the big question mark's JC Hillsman. I think he's phenomenal. Offensively phenomenal. I don't think defensively he's what Gareth looks for. And I think that's why some games, even if his shooting's off, his minutes plummets. If he misses his first few shots, he's lucky if he plays 10 minutes. Which for your kind of three-man American isn't going to work. But then on the flip side, you've got Fraser Malcolm who's stepped up.
He reminds me of what Kipper Nichols was like in his first season. You know,
he still is a bit like that now, Kipper Nichols. Has some games where he really goes off, and then games when, like you say, his shot's not dropping.
Yeah.
He is. I think defensively he's better, Kipper Nichols, but
yeah.
Fraser Malcolm has been a revelation. But he turned the game on its head when the Rocks came down to Plymouth, came off the bench and just kept them in the game, almost single-handedly.
Yeah. Yes, he did.
And he's just one of these guys that seems to get better every season. I thought last season would be kind of Fraser Malcolm's chance because the Rocks roster was so poor. I thought he was going to have his chance, but kind of playing that 6th, 7th man this year on a better performing team with better players, I think he's really just excelled himself. There was flashes 2 seasons ago under Levandier.
Oh yeah,
where he really. I think one of the Sheffield game stands out where he was like 6 from 6 from 3. And then I don't think Levandier played him the next game. So, but I think it's been such a successful season for the Rocks. I think a lot of kind of more positive news coming out of the franchise. Fans seem to be coming back. It's gone from, I don't know if you'll see from watching games of BBL players, some games looked really empty at the start of the season, and then towards the end it was much, much fuller. And I think with the news of Rocks hopefully getting their own facility, it's only been a successful. I think it can only be seen as a successful season. Good
stuff. Right, fellas, we'll wrap this up. I just want confirmation from you, Mr. Nicholson first. Lions or Riders? When they said Flyers, that would have been weird, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it won't be Flyers.
Lions or Riders?
Categorically not Flyers.
Am I going with head or heart? I don't know. Actually, it makes no difference.
No, I was going to say.
I just think Riders are going to do it. Yeah, I think they're going to do it.
Mr. Lancer?
How many?
Yeah, how many?
Oh, sorry, my bad.
God, blimey.
2-point game.
Oh, that would be nice. That would be nice.
I'm saying Raiders by 7.
Riders by... I'm going to zag then. I'll go Lions. See, this is the weird thing. It could be a Lions blowout. If they shoot the 3-ball like they did in that fourth quarter, it could be a blowout.
Look at Leicester shooting the 3. Over 50%.
No, true. Very true. I'll zag though. I'll go Lions. I want a close game. I want.
Are
Lions.
We saying high scoring or low scoring?
Low scoring. It's Riders in the final.
You reckon two defensively fairly solid teams, I guess? Well, Riders definitely. I'm not sure what the Lions' defensive rating is, to be fair, but Lions take it by 5 after overtime. How's that?
Wow.
There you go.
Okay.
Gino Crandall. Gino fouls out. He gets 2 techs, has to leave. That's never going to happen, is it?
Does he get those texts in regular time or overtime?
Oh, that's a good shot. Yeah.
Maybe he gets fouled out like Defoe did against Plymouth. Like he gets fouled out, then comes back on, and gets fouled out again. That was a weird one.
There we go. Anyway, that'll do it from us. Look out for us. We have another podcast, like I said, coming out. It will come out this week. Keep an eye out for that. And we will be at the playoff final Sunday the 15th. We'll probably be on air from around 12. Look out for us on... We'll share the links. We might go on YouTube. I don't think anyone really needs to see us, if I'm honest. But you can certainly...
I want to see.
You can certainly stick us on your phone on the audio while you're watching the main event on Sky or
I'll turn
YouTube
down.
or whatever.
Don't worry about Mr. Rowan Routledge. I'll turn them down. Don't worry about Mike Tuck and Drew Lasker. Let's turn them boys down. I want Io.
We'll be in and out anyway. But thank you, Mr. Nicholson. Anything to plug before we go?
Nothing really. You can jump on the City Patriots podcast. It's a kind of new adventure that we're doing this off season. Got a few episodes in there already. You can check out that if you want to. There's a little plug. Other than that, it's the off season.
Am I going to be a guest on that as well at some point?
You're going to be hosting it. You don't.
Well, yeah, but I didn't know if you were doing the behind the
yes, you are.
Things.
You are going to be a guest on it. I actually need to sort that out.
There's going to be a lot of swimming and water polo talk on that one.
That's fine. We are going to do the life story of Pablo Cheeks.
You haven't got long enough.
Mate, it's the off season. Oh, God,
That's going to be a good episode.
Even if it's just Grant that listens to it, we're going to do it.
I'm up for that. I'm in. I'm on.
Any to plug, Mr. Young, sir, before we go?
Yeah, me and one of the guys that comes on my podcast, Sean, who does the UK Buck stuff on Twitter, me and him did a pre-Rocks podcast for the semi-final. Both predicted wins, obviously. We got very excited, so you can always check out that and laugh at us. Similarly, probably going to try and get some more stuff out in the summer. Going to try and contact some former Rocks players and get them on.
Good stuff. Sounds good. I think that's the important thing as well. We'll try and keep rolling after the playoffs and roll through the summer. We've got some
make
fun
up
ideas.
some rumours.
I'll make sure we've got plenty of news for you guys. Don't worry.
We've got some fun ideas. We're going to go with this. We're kind of nicking this off the starters guys, the guys that are now called the no dunks, where they do drafts, but they do them for like weird stuff like barbecue draft. Like you get a category for meat, a category for music, that kind of vibe. But we definitely, me and Ads have talked about this extensively, doing the movie players draft. So we're talking Jesus Shuttleworth, we're talking Neon Bordeaux, we're talking fictional players only. So you can't have Michael Jordan because he was in Space Jam, that kind of thing. we'll be drafting the. So you have to go deep on that one. You're gonna have to you have to go on above the rim, for example, and check out some of the players in
on that one.
White men can't jump. You can have Sydney and.
Sydney D
and Billy, yeah.
Billy Hoyle.
Although Sydney Dean's dribble was very high, I wouldn't want him starting as my guard anyway. But Billy Hoyle, I have, who's got my favourite line of any movie is Billy Hoyle's when he talks about the reason why he owes money to the brothers called, the Stoogie brothers, whatever they're called.
Yes.
When he talks about why he owes them money. When he talks about why he owes them money, and he says he was meant to throw a game for him. And then he got caught in a verbal battle with a guy. He said he called me a honky motherfucker and said I couldn't score. And Sydney says to him, "You are a honky motherfucker, Billy." And he says, "Yeah, but I can score."
Can you draft Dwight from The Office in that episode when he played basketball? Have you seen that?
Dwight
with the goggles on.
Jim's good in that one. Jim's great in that.
I'm taking Will Smith from Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
Yeah. Nice. Didn't they do a weird episode where...
Carlton.
Yeah, where Carlton could play and actually had a chance to hit the winning shot and bricks it on purpose.
Yeah.
Didn't they do that? He could play. So suddenly, for some reason, he could play.
From the halfway line.
And he was starting.
Yeah.
That's funny. That was a funny one. But yeah, we'll do some of that. That'd be fun. We've already talked about it here just for 5 minutes, haven't we?
Hey, Grant, you could go with groundskeeper Willie from the Simpsons episode, wearing that kilt.
The stereotypes.
We might.
Stereotypes awful. Let's go get a Connor's party or something. That's fine.
That is bad. we might take out the animated element and make it real players only.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
But anyway, good stuff. Right. Thank you very much, fellas, for joining me. Ads couldn't make it. I think he's stuck in traffic.
I'm waiting for him to make a special guest appearance just to say hi and bye.
We'll make sure he's all right. Don't worry. But yeah, until I'll say till next week. But until you hear the next show with the Moss Side Tropics and the weekend, take it easy. We'll speak to you soon.